Hi, I'm Kelsey, and I'm the one behind the website poofycheeks.com, where I share hundreds of free cut files for Silhouette and Cricut cutting machines, craft tutorials, DIY projects, and more. Today we are talking about Waterslide decals and how they can be used with epoxy tumblers. I use Waterslide paper when a design is a bit too intricate for vinyl or has shading and color gradients like a watercolor design, something that you can't achieve with vinyl. And so for this teacher tumbler I'm about to show you, I felt like the crayons were too small and close together to use adhesive vinyl, or maybe I just wasn't feeling the whole layering. But in comes Waterslide paper that I have learned through my recent Instagram post a lot of you don't know much about. Up until the start of this year, I didn't even know that this product existed. So, in short, you print your design onto the Waterslide paper, and there are two different kinds. There's clear and there's white. I bought this pack that I'm showing here on Amazon, and it has 10 sheets of both white and clear. You can use the print and cut feature of your cutting machine and print and cut the designs out, but when I'm using the clear paper, I usually print and cut with scissors because it doesn't have to be exact. With the white Waterslide paper, it does have to be cut out exactly, otherwise you'll see like that white border around whatever shape you have. So here are a couple of examples I'm going to show you. This is the cup that we're making today, the teacher cup. I printed the crayon design out on clear Waterslide paper using my inkjet printer, and then after that was dried completely, I used adhesive black vinyl to put a name onto the cup. Also note that another reason I used the clear Waterslide paper for this one is because it was going on a white glitter background, so all of the colors were going to be really vibrant without having to be printed on the white Waterslide paper. Now with this second cup, the background is the peach and the gold, and a clear Waterslide paper would have picked those colors up underneath and changed the color to the design that I was going to put on it. So I used white Waterslide decal for this one. For the name on the coral and gold cup, I did use black adhesive vinyl, so I waited for the Waterslide paper to dry completely and then put on that black adhesive vinyl. Another thing to note is that before I apply any of the Waterslide paper designs, I do my glitter on my cup, and then I do 2 coats of epoxy so that the cup is nice and smooth and ready to take on that Waterslide paper without any dimples or dents. After I apply the Waterslide paper, I go ahead and I apply another coat of epoxy to seal everything in. Here are the instructions that are included with the Waterslide paper, and if you were to apply the Waterslide design to some of the materials that they suggest, like ceramic, wood, etc., then you would want to follow these instructions. However, I'm doing it a bit differently since these are going to be going on epoxy cups, and then they're going to be sealed with a coat of epoxy. So I do step 1, I print it. Then step 2, I don't use any type of thing to dry it. I just let it dry naturally. I do step number 3, I spray it, and I again let it dry naturally. Then I cut, immerse, apply, and instead of steps 8, I put a coat of epoxy on, where in their directions, they're telling you to bake the design so that it would stay on permanently. As you see here, I have my Waterslide decals already printed out on clear Waterslide paper, and then I've just done a quick trim. And next thing we're gonna do is spray them. We'll spray them with this Rust-Oleum clear, and I will give it 3 coats of spray. After that, I'll trim it again with my scissors, and then we have the water that we're gonna soak our Waterslide in. It's at room temperature, and the cup that already has 2 coats of epoxy. So what I do is I put my Waterslide decal design side up on a piece of parchment, and then I hit it with that Rust-Oleum clear spray 3 times, and I let it dry in between each coat. So it does take about 10 to 15 minutes to dry between each coat. I usually do it while I'm doing something else. So there's coat 1, we'll let it dry. I'll come back, now I'm going to hit it with coat 2. And after this, I didn't record it, but I hit it with the 3rd coat and let that dry completely. Now we want to take that Waterslide design and we want to trim it again and trim the edges, because when we sprayed it with our adhesive, the adhesive kind of makes it stick to the backing. and we want it to slide off really easily from the backing. I still try to trim kind of close to the design. I don't want a bunch of the overhang from the paper, even though this is the clear paper. Plus, the bigger the piece of Waterslide, the harder it can be to deal with. But when you're moving this Waterslide paper around, once you've soaked it in the water and it's ready to apply, you want to be very careful with it. It's extremely delicate. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can see all of our future videos in your feed. We're going to set the other two designs off to the side. Those are for another cup that's going to be matching this one, and I don't want them to get wet. Now we're ready to put the Waterslide paper design side down into room temperature water. And you're gonna let it soak for about 30 seconds. If it tries to roll up on you, just use your fingers and keep it down, submerged into the water. And while that is soaking, find a smooth place on your cup. Sometimes, you might have a bump or something, so you wanna find the best place to apply the Waterslide decal to your cup. After the Waterslide decal has soaked for about 30 seconds, take it and gently flip it over. Again, use your fingers to make sure it's submerged in that water. And then you can test it and see if it's sliding, using your thumbs basically to push up from the backing. If it's not ready, put it back in the water. Okay, let's try this again. And there we go, it's sliding on that backing. So I'm gonna use my fingers to wet the cup. You wanna wet it so that if your design needs to be pushed up or down or kind of moved around, it can easily slide. You're gonna put the design down and then you're just gonna gently slide that backing paper down off of your decal. I actually did not put enough water on before the decal, and so my design was crooked and I couldn't move it. Usually I can move it like with my thumbs or fingers, just really gently move it around, but I couldn't. So I had to peel the design, which you never really want to do because they're so delicate. Luckily it worked out okay for me. So just know that it doesn't always go perfectly. Luckily, I was able to do that and get it into the perfect position. Now let's put the decal on the back of the cup. It's a little Bitmoji design. The customer sent me Bitmojis that they created with the Bitmoji app, and so I just printed those out. They were PNG images, so it was really easy to just open them up in my software and resize them. And as far as printing them out, you can use Silhouette Studio, Cricut Design Space, Adobe Illustrator, or whatever program you use, that you can resize these images and know exactly what size they are, because with working with that white area, I wanted to make sure that the designs were no taller than 3.5 inches. And like I said, you could use a print and cut. The reason I don't is because once I apply that layer of clear spray, if I've already used print and cut, then it's hard for me to go back and trim any more off that image to get them to slide. So with this one, instead of putting the design down on the cup, I'm going to put the backing down on the cup and slide it up onto the cup. So you just hold with one finger and basically kind of push and pull. And so that's what it looks like if you apply the design backing down, and the crayon side we did with the backing up. So that just shows that there's two ways that you can apply these Waterslide designs. I definitely prefer the method where the backing side is up and you mirror the image, because they slide off so much easier. But some people prefer the second method because they can see more where their design is going. So once the decals are on, you're just gonna take a piece of paper towel and you're gonna blot it dry, making sure there's no bubbles, it's not folded or anything like that. You want it to be very smooth. And again, be very careful with how delicate the Waterslide paper is. After that, the next thing to do is let it sit and dry. I usually let it dry for a couple hours, sometimes even overnight. And then with this one, I have to go back in and add my adhesive vinyl. You want to be really careful when you're using transfer tape, that when you peel the transfer tape off, leaving the vinyl, that you don't also peel the Waterslide. So you really want to do like minimal pressure. If you attempt your own Waterslide tumbler, I'd love to see it, so tag me on Instagram at PoofyCheeksBlog. Until next time, happy crafting!